Welcome you all viewers on our channel. Uh, Today we have with us Vikrant Thakur, who is an embedded software engineer. He did his undergraduate in electrical and electronics engineering from Indraprastha University, New Delhi. He also worked as an intern at Lenovo IoT. Later on, he has worked in various professional fronts dealing with IoT sector. So we welcome you, Vikrant, to join us on our channel today and share your piece of wisdom with our audience over here.
Thank you, Kirthik. I would like to thank the Kirthik and its team for calling me and asking me to share my interview share my journey of as an embedded system engineer. Uh, it's been 2.5 years I'm working in the field of IoT and embedded, starting from my college time, and it's been a wonderful journey so far. And I hope the journey continues like that.
Okay, Vikrant. So could you just explain, briefly introduce more about yourself to our audience?
My name is Vikrant Thakur, and currently I'm working as an embedded software engineer. If I define myself, I am a software engineer, electronic hobbyist, and tech enthusiastic. I have a deep interest in research, especially in the field of FPGAs and hardware architectural design. But apart from it, I also like to share my knowledge. I believe the embedded community should be more open source. So I have shared my knowledge wherever I have got the opportunity to share in different communities like GDG Cloud, Hardware Hackers, IoT-NCR, and so on. So by profession, I am an embedded software engineer. In my personal and free time, I'm a trainer. I'm a mentor. So if anyone wants to reach me out, he can reach me for any query related to embedded software engineering or hardware design or IoT. Thank you.
So your aspiration to become an engineer, was it out of interest or peer pressure?
So I come from a very middle class family background, and as every middle class family background believes that there are only two professions in India. First is engineering, and second is doctor. Therefore, my family also decided after uh, when I finished my 12th that engineering would be the right option for me. Although at that point of time I wasn't aware of any new options in my life. So, as my family planned that I should go for engineering, I therefore decided to go for engineering without any having any like intuition or inbuilt mindset that I should be going for engineering. But when I entered into engineering in my first year, in my second semester, I found a keen interest in electronics. I was very passionate to apply my theoretical concepts into the practical world. Uh, that's where my real journey started when I started developing my own projects, starting from very small DIY projects to uh, and later understanding how those DIY projects can be converted into products, what are the different use cases and difficulties that we face in the industry. And that journey from where I started implementing my concepts, I started understanding the values of engineering, and my interest towards the subjects got increased tremendously. So if someone asked me whether I was like interested in engineering when I was joining engineering, my answer would be straight away no. I wasn't aware of any options as a career option. Uh, my parents insisted me to be an engineer. Later, but I found out that my engineering was my passion. I was very interested in electronics, and really I found my interest in electronics as well as programming.
So Vikrant, coming up from a tier 3 college, students do not get a chance to get into the core electronics sector. So how did you find your digital mojo?
Yeah, absolutely. There is some little lag because coming from a tier 3 college, you do not have the strong resources in order to pursue your career as a electronics engineer. Uh, there are a lot of several reasons for that. One of the main reasons which I believe is that the electronics and embedded industry is still not that much open source for the different students. So therefore, it kind of like a hurdle for a person if wants to pursue his career into embedded or hardware by itself. Uh, so coming from a tier three college, it was a little setback for me. But if you have determination and will, then definitely you will find the path to continue. So even if you are from tier three colleges, there are various ways by which you can explore and develop your skills. uh, as in my case, there were societies and projects that I was involved in, which helped me to grab my fundamentals. Later, joined various communities, which helped me to gain the professional experience that was required to, in order to understand how the professional market is growing. And that really helped me from even from a tier three college. I managed to uh, start working in electronics industry. I still believe that I'm still learning. I'm at a very newer age, but uh, what I will insist everyone, even if you are from tier three, tier two, or tier one, that keep exploring, never lose faith, and have certain determination that will help you in the long run.
Okay, Vikrant. So, can you tell us some of the courses, online courses, and platforms where you gained your skill from, and which all courses should the students follow in order to follow similar line as you have done?
So there are various courses that are there online. First, my most preferred website would be Udemy. So Udemy have tons of courses for various controllers that you can explore, and it's quite a brilliant website for a beginner. If someone wants to start with embedded, then it's having a ton of courses where you can find out various courses regarding their specific controllers and can learn the basics. The second, I would insist Coursera. Coursera is quite useful because it directly connects you with the professors. So professors working at certain good universities in US and Europe, they basically are involved directly and indirectly to design that course. So it will help you to clear your fundamentals and your theoretical concepts that might be required. The third would be I would recommend the Plural site. Plural site is quite useful for beginners. It contains some beginner courses which will help you to catch up with some sort of basics that might be required. And fourth is the Udemy. Udemy have Udacity, sorry. So Udacity has certain professional courses that are pretty expensive, but I believe in a long run that can be useful and that might beneficial all if someone is really want to spend some amount of money rather than spending some amount of money in training. Those courses will help you to rebuild yourself, and those courses have a good value in the industry as well. So I would recommend, my first recommendation is Udemy, second is Coursera, third is Pluralsight, and fourth is Udacity. Although these courses and course structure might change from person to person, but this will be my preference for if someone will ask me about the courses and structure.
Great, Vikrant. So, you were also part of the Lenovo Think IoT team. How you managed to land that internship with the Lenovo team? Could you just elaborate on that?
So basically, as I said, I was very keen to explore and determined to explore certain opportunities in my field. So as I told earlier, I am very enthusiastic to share my knowledge. I believe that when you share your knowledge, you gain what you share. So if you share more, then you gain more. So that motto really helped me to join communities that share the knowledge with everyone. Uh, those organization and communities are non-profit organizations, and you do not require any cost to join them. That's the best part about it. As we know that some organization might require some money to join, but these organizations would not require any money. So these are communities which are open source. So I was a part of one of the communities like IoT-NCR, where I presented one of my small talk on hardware fundamentals and integration with IoT. Later, I was a volunteer as well, and I was very active on that group. Uh, One day, some very senior professional on that group posted some job openings, and one of the job openings was an graduate intern or an intern which is in the final year. So if someone is into final year, he can join as an intern there. So I asked for the recommendation, and since he was very aware of my self as I was involved in the community, he referred me for that position. And after clearing some rounds of interviews, I was selected as a intern in Think IoT team. My job at the Think IoT team was to explore and analyze the use cases in different IoT sectors, especially in industrial IoT, such as smart farming, smart industrial, smart retail sector, and understand the customers' pain point, uh, market size, uh, revenue insights, and other aspects. So it was a wonderful journey there, and I learned a lot about how to pitch your certain products, your technical products to clients, and how to manage your insights about a certain specific sectors in different various IoT domain.
Indeed, Vikrant, that was a very good professional exposure that you had got in during your undergraduate days. So, moving on to the next question, connecting and bringing industry picture, what do you feel will emerge as a changeover in IoT when in this data-driven generation, much preference is given to complex machine learning, AI, and deep learning? What's your view on this?
So let me put down very straight. Like if you go to the reports by different various agencies, by various research institutes like Garnet, IDC forecast, this predicts that IoT market will be around 1.1 trillion in 2025, and there is a huge boom in the IoT sector. If you compare the investments done by tech firms like Microsoft, Amazon, uh, certain investments also done by core electronic companies like Apple and other semiconductor domains are already investing tons of investment into the IoT sector. So I would rather focus on saying that just simply data driven solutions wouldn't help out, because if you compare, like in AI, food is the source, is the main ingredient for AI. And if you do not have real time data, then you won't be able to take real time decisions, because you need to have correct data in order to in order to train your models, and that will help you to take real decisions. So that data then can only be fetched by IoT devices that are connected across. So
Mhm.
coming back to your question that data driven society might enhance, I would rather say in a more direct way that IoT and AI, integration of IoT and AI would create a future, and that would create more job opportunities and more wider domains in upcoming sector. And coming back to the question whether the IoT market and insights about the IoT. So they are already, I just stated, there are a lot of research institutes that are currently investing in IoT, reports, white papers that give you clear picture that IoT market will gonna expand, and as the IoT market will expand, there will be a lot of demand for upcoming embedded software engineers, embedded design engineers that will be working at the device layer. And as these demand will increase, the application engineers, the platform engineers would eventually play a major role as well.
So, Vikrant, suppose, let's say, suppose I want to be something like in similar terms, like you have been like an embedded software engineer. So, what according to you would you suggest me? Which all tools should I learn, and in what order of difficulty?
So embedded, uh, in embedded, if you want to understand how embedded field is currently working. So basically, in embedded, there are two types of domain. First is the embedded hardware engineering. Second is the embedded software engineering. So in embedded hardware engineering, you need to understand the core fundamentals of hardware, how the hardware is working, and what are the various uh, tools that are required to design that hardware. For example, KiCad, Altium, you need to learn to design those hardware designs. In comparison to that, you need to understand the various hardware features and how components work in a more complex way in order to design your hardware in a perfect manner. So that's the one domain that you have. The second domain is the embedded software engineer. So in embedded software engineer, you need to have the hardware knowledge of hardware. You need to have the fundamentals of hardware. In plus, you need to understand how to program that hardware. So you need to have the programming skills as well. Plus, you need to also have some hardware skills in order to understand how will I program that certain hardware. In terms of tools and technologies that we need to learn in embedded, there are various tons of tools and technologies for different wider controllers. So let me put down very straight. Like if someone wants to start with the embedded domain, I would suggest in the undergraduate, you should start with the basic generic board that's Arduino Uno. So you just need to understand how that works, what are the different hardware features that are there in the open source development board, and how you can program, what are the APIs that are used, how you integrate the sensors, various sensors from it, and certain basic protocols. After exploring that, you don't need to stick yourself to Arduino. What people or students do is they stick with the Arduino, they do not get an exposure of industrial controllers. So after learning the basics, you need to learn how the register level programming can happen. So I would recommend you to buy any Atmigel board or an PIC board, or if you are keen to learn register level programming on the same board itself, then you can do it on the Arduino Uno as well because it contains an Atmega 328P microcontroller. So learn the register level programming because it will help you to understand how the registers work, how the peripheral registers are working, how the general purpose registers in the core CPU is working, how the data manipulation flag bits are being set. That will really help you to debug certain issues and understand the basic core fundamentals that might be required. The second most important aspect is once you learn all these aspects, once you understand how that embedded journey of registers, low level driver development takes place, then you should move on to industrial controllers. So there are industrial controllers that are being designed by various vendors such as ST, NXP, Texas Instruments, and those contains ARM architecture. So ARM architecture has basically divided its series into three parts. The ARM M series, that is for the MCUs, that is for generally for the IoT low embedded devices, low power embedded devices. The ARM R series is mostly for running operating systems like RTOS and various pre-built RTOS systems like free RTOS and other RTOS systems that are being provided by the company. And ARM A series, that is generally processor series, that is you find in your mobile phones and in your higher version of boards in which you can operate Linux. So these are the three series on which the ARM has divided its content. Now, if you want to explore microcontroller programming, I will suggest you to go with any controller that is ARM based, whether it's from ST, whether it's from Texas or NXP, whether that architecture is M0 or M1 or M2 or M3 or M4. The most popular one is from ST because it is widely available and it's at lower cost. So you can start out like, for example, I started with my STM32 M4 F0. That was a microcontroller development board being designed by the ST. That is a uh, ST developer board. So that's a quite useful board to explore certain features in ARM, and you will get to know how you need to understand the programming that takes place, that is happening at in the industry. That controller, how you program those controllers in order to make the things work functional. So then you can integrate various sensors from it, understand how analog pins, RTC, UART, timers, I2C works, and then you can explore about the more APIs that have been constructed by the company, how those APIs work, what are the various layers of those APIs that will really help you to debug certain issues. Afterwards, when you learn these types of skills, you already are at a good level. Then you can explore more of Linux operating system, which is quite open source. You can have the Linux in your computer or a laptop, and you can explore a lot of features that are there in Linux. You can even boot up your Linux into ARM A series processor boards like Raspberry Pi or Intel boards that are there available, or Onium 2 board, that is an open source Linux board. So this how you can develop your skills as an embedded software engineer. And once you are able to develop these skills as an embedded software engineer, then I would frankly speak, there are a lot of job opportunities. Being a fresher, you are already aware of a lot of aspects, being and certain skills that are required to be a good engineer. And if even if you apply off campus, like I did, you might be able to fetch a better job or even get an internship in any of the semiconductor domain, even from a tier 3 college. So these are the skills that you require in order to enter into a good organization, or if you want to enter into the embedded domain.
That was a great piece of advice, Vikrant. So, can you tell us where are you working right now presently? What is your job profile?
So my job profile is an embedded software engineer, and I'm working in a company called as IOTech Designs, which manufactures and provides services in the field of embedded IoT and mobile and web applications. It currently have clients in US, Germany, Gulf countries, and Japan, and it's expanding its domain in various markets. Its basic aim is to provide services in core embedded field, as well as with integration with various web and app based platforms. Plus, it also have its own R&D team, which works on developing a lot of IoT based products. You can check out the website for more details. And I would also like to suggest one good point here, to especially to freshers, that even if you then don't get to enter into the professional semiconductor companies, but that's okay. If you can enter into a good startup or a good company, premium skill company, that will really help you to develop good skills. You will be directly involved working in projects, and that will help you to enhance your skills to a great extent. So uh, just keep on exploring, just keep on developing your skills and sharing your knowledge. That helps you in the long run.
So, Vikrant, in the actual scenario, how exactly is the Indian startups operating in IoT sector? And also, what is the latest trend and main concern the industry sector is focusing to achieve in upcoming 5 years? So, our channel audience can have a bigger picture.
From 2008, when there was an IT recession that came in India, we have seen from that era, like from 2008, there is a boom in Indian startups, especially in the field of IT sector. And later, when the startups in IT sector evolves, we saw boom in startups in IoT sector as well. So there is a lot of boom in IoT sector in comparison to startups that have been evolving over the past few years, especially in the field of IoT, robotics, electronics, hardware. And as India is now more shifting towards developing its centered from software to manufacturing, and under the campaign of Make in India, there are a lot of startups that have been involved, and they are doing great job in terms of developing their own in-house products, which involves designing the software, end-to-end software, as well as to end-to-end hardware. So, uh, as I see, the Indian startup culture is quite useful for India because if you compare the Indian market, then almost 1 million graduates pass out every year. So, in order to absorb that uh, amount of people into the job industry, you need more startups than MNCs in order to absorb them. So, Indian IoT startup culture is not only helping to generate revenue for the government and for the development of the overall country, but it also providing uh, good jobs to various professionals, to fresh graduates that are graduating, and those jobs can really help to create and nurture the and develop the skills of the fresh graduates that are joining in. So I see
Great.
at last I would say I see a lot of boom in the Indian IoT startup culture, and under the campaign of Make in India and the funding scenarios that is being organized by the government as well under the DST, uh, I see that the startups will evolve in India, and uh, India might have a great shift from software to manufacturing in upcoming time.
Thank you, Vikrant. And now that we have come to the end of our session, uh, what is your final piece of advice for all our viewers? And along with that, do mention how our audiences can connect with you.
So I would advise if someone wants to get into embedded, then this is the right time to explore this field. Being an electronics engineer, you have primarily two domains that you can primarily work in. One is the VLSI, that's the very large scale integrated chip, which I wouldn't talk about much in this video because that's a more wider domain. And second is an embedded field, in which I have already given some kind of a basic introduction how you can enter into this field. Uh, as an electronics engineer, uh, I would suggest if someone is very keen and interested in electronics, and he should not go into the IT sector or service sector or any other job if he is not able to find any job in electronics. He should develop his skills. He should focus on developing his skills in the college time, and when he will be about to graduate, then I'm pretty sure that he will be able to fetch a job because there's a lot of demand of skills. There are a lot of job opportunities in the field of electronics. The only thing that I believe people do not have at this current point of time is the right skills. So if you have the right skills, you will absolutely fetch a good job. And as I'm working in this field from last couple of years, I can surely say the field is right now at a level. Its level is increasing now as the image processing and computer vision technologies are evolving. We need more developers who can work at the core level, especially having expertise in programming languages like C and C++ along with the hardware. So that's how I guess the booming is taking place. And if someone is really interested, he should not limit his scope. He should explore, and he can enter into a good organization. So keep exploring, keep learning. And for me, I'm always available on LinkedIn. So if someone wants to connect me on LinkedIn, he can connect me. I regularly share my thoughts on LinkedIn as well. I also have a Twitter. So if someone wants to connect me on a Twitter channel, then he can connect me on Twitter channel as well. Uh, I'm working on my website, so soon it will be released to the audience. I'm pretty sure I will be able to provide the link in the video. As soon as the website will be uploaded, so they are there will be an option to connect and share your thoughts with me. So you can directly connect with me via my website. So thank you. At
Yeah,
last, I would say thank you to Kirtik for great introduction and giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge.
thank you very much, Vikrant, for being a part of our journey in bringing the untouched and less explored opportunities to our channel audience. And we would be dropping the LinkedIn and other medium accounts through which our viewers can reach out to our speaker. Thank you, Vikrant. I hope that your piece of knowledge and wisdom would really help someone to get ahead in their career and other aspiring candidates. On this note, I would sign off and have a great day, Vikrant.
Thank you, Kirtik, and have a great day to you and your team as well. Thank you so much for inviting me for
Thank you,
your
Vikrant.